Growing up, I always loved spending time in the woods near my parents' house. There was something so peaceful and serene about being surrounded by nature, and I often found myself wandering through the trees and exploring new parts of the forest. One day, while out on a walk, I stumbled upon a small circular clearing in the woods. It was tucked away behind some trees, and I almost missed it entirely, but something about it drew me in. There was a small stream running through the clearing, and a big rock in the center that seemed to call out to me. I started visiting the clearing regularly, bringing my books along with me to read on the rock by the stream. It became a sort of refuge for me, a place where I could escape from the stress of school and just be alone with my thoughts. But one day, everything changed. I was sitting on the rock, engrossed in a book, when I heard footsteps behind me. I didn't think much of it at first. I assumed it was just an animal passing through the woods. But then the footsteps got closer, and I started to feel uneasy. I set down my book and crept into the trees to see if I could spot whatever was making the noise. As I moved further into the woods, the footsteps grew louder and more frantic. I realized that it wasn't an animal after all, it was a person. My heart started racing as I followed the footsteps, trying to stay as quiet as possible. But whoever it was seemed to be moving faster than I could keep up with. Eventually, the footsteps faded away, and I was left standing in the middle of the woods, alone and scared. I decided to head back to my circle, but as I emerged from the trees, my heart dropped. There was someone sitting on my rock, with my book in his hands. He was a tall, thin man, with a wild look in his eyes. I didn't know what to do. Should I approach him, or run away? Before I could decide, the man spoke. "I don't like this book," he said, holding up the novel I had been reading. He turned to face me, and I could see the strange smile on his face. "I watch you come here a lot," he said, and I felt a chill run down my spine. How long had he been watching me? And why? Suddenly, the man stood up and took a step towards me. I panicked and started running as fast as I could, trying to get as far away from him as possible. I didn't stop until I was safely back in my own home. Later that night, I heard a knock on my window. I was terrified, convinced that the man had somehow followed me back to my house. But when I looked outside, I saw my book sitting on the windowsill. It was a strange and unnerving experience, and I didn't sleep well for weeks afterwards. In the end, I never went back to that circle in the woods. The memory of what happened there was too frightening, and I couldn't shake the feeling that the man might still be watching me, even from afar. But the woods themselves still held a certain magic for me, and I continued to explore them whenever I could, always keeping an eye out for anything or anyone who might be lurking in the shadows.